me go to Asanteman North.
Sure.
Edward Opomafo is there with some provisional results. Eddie, if you can hear me, what are the results saying? Eddie, good morning.
Okay.
Edward, good morning.
Hello, Malik.
Yes, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Malik.
Yes. What results do you have?
Well, Malik, I am at the Asanteman North constituency. That's Agogo and the surrounding areas. And at the moment, it's left with just one polling station to be added to it. You know, we have 94 polling stations, and the one to be added, when it's added, I'll also be updating our viewers and listeners on it. So let me quickly move to the presidential. We have CPP. CPP had 38 for the Asanteman North constituency. CPP 38. We have NDC. We have NDC having 9,558. 9,558. NDP had 93 votes. 93 votes. PPP 100. And NPP had 25,314. Also, PNC had 24 votes, and the independent candidate Jacob Osayeboa had 11 votes. And now let's move to the parliamentary seats. And with the parliamentary, the NDC candidate had 10,449, and the NPP had 23,195. 23,100.
Can you please take that for the parliamentary? The NDC's candidate has what? 10,000.
The NDC candidate has 10,449.
Okay. And
10,449.
Okay.
And the NPP candidate had 23,195. And NDP candidate, that's NS Osubempa, had 541. CPP candidate had 73. And the independent candidate had 1,614. So this is the result now. But there was just one polling station to be added to it. There was a bit of misunderstanding between the polling agents who were the area. We understand about 39 of them were rejected, and the NPP candidates, the NPP polling agent for the area objected to it, and he refused to sign. So at the moment, the presiding officer of the area, together with the polling agents and the returning officer here, they are trying to resolve the matter. So as and when it's resolved, the final one will be added to it, and we'll be updating our listeners and viewers on it.
This is just one polling station. This result is minus one polling station.
Yes, just minus one polling station for the whole constituency.
For Asanteman North.
Yes.
In the eastern region, right?
No, as in the Ashanti region.
In the Ashanti region, okay.
Yes.
In the Ashanti region.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Eddie.
You're welcome, Ali.
Okay, we have certified the result from Central Tongu. Ivy Seto G. Ivy.
Hello, Malik.
Good morning, once again.
Good morning, once again.
Okay, so Central Tongu certified result?
Yes, so
okay.
We have CPP 56. We have NDP.
Ivy, give me a minute. Let me get that. CPP.
CPP 56.
66 or 56?
56.
56.
Yes. NDP.
And this is presidential?
This is presidential.
Okay.
Yes. So NDP 28.
28.
Yes.
NDC.
NDC 25,375.
25,275.
Yes.
Okay. PPP.
Then we have, hello?
Yes, I'm listening to you, Ivy.
Then we have PPP 189.
Okay. And then MPP.
Then NPP 2,990. 93. 2,939.
939.
Yes. And then PNC 18.
Yes. 18. And then the independent candidate.
Independent candidate is 13.
13. So let me go over this again. CPP had 56. NDP had 28. NDC had 25,275. PPP had 189. MPP had 2,939. PNC had 18. And the independent candidate had 13. So now, do we have parliamentary?
We are yet to get a parliamentary.
Okay.
So we get that it's 371. Total vote cast is 29,037. And then total voters registered 43,392.
Once again, rejected has done very well. 371 votes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have any more results, or that's all we have for now?
For now, as when we get, I'll get it for our viewers.
Ivy, thank you. Okay, so joining me, Roland Walker. Roland.
Yeah, it's
some sleep.
I had a bit of an hour.
On a chair?
On a chair, yeah.
No.
You haven't slept, so.
Okay, so this is the results we have.
Yes, I've been watching the trend. It's a bit of a surprise. I mean, from
why is that?
From 8 hours ago, I mean, so to speak, because of the trend. But now we're having the chickens come home to roost. But the even essential thing about this whole election, it's how the results have been dragging and coming in. Ideally, we're supposed to be having a well-collated system
by this time,
and so by this time we should have had a better means of getting the collated results. But we'll see how that goes.
Because for some of the notable constituencies, K2 South, K2 North, those ones, North Tongu, South Dai, all of these ones, the results are not very complete. Okay, Whole Central, I think Whole Central is complete. Whole Central, the CPP had 21, NDP had 14, NDC had 24,363, PPP had 116, MPP had 3,066, PNC has 7, the independent candidate has 2. That's for...
And even this is coming from the coalition centers in the various constituencies.
Yes. This is from the coalition centers. Is there anything about these results that surprise you or not surprise you, especially from the Volta region?
If you take the result from the Volta region, you get to find that it seems you look at the number of voter populations and you look at the turnout, it doesn't seem to have a certain reflection of what usually the turnout would be. I don't
Do you think the turnout appears to be rather low?
Well, not necessarily low, but not as expected. I wouldn't say that what the trends are usually what we would have recorded in a normal enthusiastic period of an election. But perhaps after the election we can have a proper diagnosis of some of the results we've been getting in some of those sectional areas and history in mind.
Our colleague Raymond Akwa will join us.
And he'll give us a better perspective.
Yes, and he will go to the magic wall and he will take us through some of the comparisons, especially once we have complete results from some constituencies. Let's look at Central. Let's take Ekumfi, for example. They voted skirt and blouse. President John Mahama had 13,244. The NDC's candidate, who is incumbent, had 11,482. The MPP's candidate had 12,014, beating him to the seat and therefore snatching the seat from him. Are we likely to see more skirt and blouse, and what does that tell us?
But Kumfi also is one of the peculiar constituencies in which there has been some level of dissatisfaction, right up from the levels of organizing the primaries to the levels of the executives, and we know that there's been some level of a cross carpet of a support in a sense, in many respects. You remember a former member of Parliament who contested at the primary level, George Kuntu Blanks.
Yes. I remember George Kuntu Blanks very well. He's my friend, actually.
Okay, felt that he was not treated well within the period in terms of during the campaigning and organization for that very primary. So we have trends where usually you would find that when the parties are in the second term, not the candidates per se, but the parties are in the second term, the individuals within the chain of the organogram of the party tend to have some level of or some type of reaction from the general population of the party supporters or sympathizers within the constituency, and that is the kind of trend that you tend to find. But you can find also that the president is only fighting for his second term, and so he doesn't seem to carry that baggage that you find with
incumbent MP.
Yes, yeah. So you get to find that that's a plus for him. But you could see that the baggage with his people on the ground seem to have affected him somewhat.
Yeah, let's take Alex Treme, for example. Alex Treme is Deputy Education Minister. We know that himself and Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa are two Deputy Ministers of Education, and he's a Member of Parliament for Tema North. In this election, he obtained 14,312 votes. 14,312. In fact, the President Joe Mama actually did better than him, because President Joe Mama did 14,648, 300 plus vote difference. And he lost the seat to the MPP, who did 17,252. We should
remember he's a minister, usually based in Accra. And so when they were going for the primaries, there was a lot more talk among the rank and file that perhaps he was not in touch with the constituents a lot more of the times. Now, what had been the rhetoric before going to this poll was that the party at the top was very much detached from the party at the base. And you could see that over the last 1 month or two, they tried to rally themselves and get to the constituencies and try to bulldoze their way and try to make sure that they created the needed rapport.
You think it was too late for some?
Well, I think for some of the areas it was too late. Okay. We shouldn't forget that the voter population of our country have become a lot more sophisticated and a lot more aware than many.
Thanks to the job that you do. Let's go to Tema East. Tema East is one of the keenly contested constituencies. The incumbent was called MP3 because he won the last election in 2012 with only 3 votes. And I'm talking about Titus Glover. That's Tema East. Let's go to Tema East. Kwame Yanka is there. Kwame, what are the results? Do we have any?
Malik, as I speak to you at the moment, we cannot say we have it. There was a mix-up along the line. So that's of the parliamentary results are being simply input into the system, come up with the final figure. But as I speak to you, the presidential results have been put together, and as I speak to you, out of 146 polling stations, 134 have been put together, and of this you have 24,863 going for the NDC, and then you have 30,791 for the MPP. On the side of PDP, you have 61 votes, NDP 34, PPP 302, PNC 13, Independent 10, and then the total valid votes, that's 66,064.
Come on, let's pick the figures again. You are saying the coalition is still ongoing, it's not complete
for the presidential,
yet.
Exactly.
For presidential, how many polling stations are there in this constituency?
146.
146.
Yes.
How many have been collated so far?
134.
134. So you will have the 12 polling stations, 12 polling stations more to go. And the NDC's presidential candidate John Mahama had 24,000 and what? Give me the rest of the figures.
863.
863. And then the MPP's Nana Akufo-Addo has
30,791.
791.
Yes. And then for CPP, you have 2 votes. NDP, you have 34. GPP, 304. PNC, 13. Independent, 10. And then the total valid vote cast is 66,191. Rejected, you have 634.
Okay. Kwame, thank you. I'll come back to you for the final result. I have to go to Kumasi, to the famous Bantama constituency, where Ohemin Tewia is standing by. Ohemin has been running around this constituency for most part of yesterday. He's still there. Ohemin, what are the results? Bantama. Ohemin, can you hear me?
Election results. And I vote for Black Green Street of the CPP polled 22 votes, while the NDP, Nana Kunedu Ajima Rollins, also polled 13. For NDC, John Dramani Mahama, he polled 6,562. And Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papa Sasi Injun, polled 173. Nana Adudankwa Akufo-Addo, representing the New Patriotic Party, polled 61,892. The People's National Convention, PNC, polled 18. And then independent presidential candidate, Joy, also polled 18. So for now, that is what we have from the Electoral Commission, but these results are yet to be announced. The EC says the parliamentary results will be made available very soon. Malay.
So we don't, that's not ready yet, but for the presidential, we know that NDC has 6,000, NDC's John Mahama has 6,562, the MPP's Nana Akufo-Addo 61,892.
51,896.
51, not 61.
Yeah, 51,696.
Okay.
Representing 88.19% of the votes cast.
Okay, 51,892.
51,696.
96. Okay.
So 51,696.
So 51896.
So 51896.
Okay. And then the NDC's John Mahama has 6,562. That's for the Bantama constituency. I'll come back to you for the parliamentary results for the Bantama constituency so that we will see how things are panning out in this constituency. Roland, Bantama is in.
Yes, Bantama has always been a foregone conclusion for the MPP, and we know that even before we had the demarcation of various constituencies,
when Shiaisu was taken out of the Bantama constituency,
and all that, all created. The Ashanti region has always been a colossus when it comes to support for the Dankwa Buzia tradition, and it's understandably so. Now, if you look at the level of population migration also, especially trickling down from the North Bonafo and into Ashanti, you also tend to know why we tend to have the swelling of the populations in those areas. Yes. But the bulk of the support that the MPP has, largely since 1992, has come from the belt within the middle, the Eastern, the Ashanti. So when they do the extra work, then they tend to cover many wide areas across the country. And Bantama, we should not be surprised about the results.
So we know that this Bantama constituency it's been there since '92. Richard Anani was the member of parliament for the MPP from Bantama for the 1996, 2000, 2004 elections. And then the constituency in Shiaisi was carved out of the Bantama constituency. Then Richard Anani contested again in Shiaisu on the MPP's ticket and won for 2008-2012. And then he was seeking to go for his 6th term because he contested, he won it 3 times. He won
but
Bantama.
even that after he left, then we had a beautiful lady, I call her Mama many other times. She was a presidential staffer.
Yes.
And then Cecilia Dapa, and then became a member of parliament.
Yes.
And now we have Henry Kwabena Kukufu, who came in the first time, then lost, of course, a seat in some bizarre circumstances.
He lost the primaries.
Yes,
just
lost
like
the primaries.
Richard Anani also lost the primaries for Shiaisi.
Usually for the strongholds, when you lose the primary, we say you've lost the seat.
Oh, absolutely, because anyone who wins the primaries,
yes, for the strongholds, for the two parties, yes,
is offering what share of votes.
Yes, so you get to find out it is not what the candidate wants, it's what the people of the party and those who rally and support the party within the constituency want. And those dynamics always tend to play at the party level when they are organizing their own primaries and try to see whether the candidate also endear themselves to the constituency or the people or not. So it's about you, the candidate, what kind of reverence you attach to the people, and also what kind of respect you command, and how you tend to touch base with the various constituents, i.e., you will touch base with the constituents, but you shouldn't forget the people who elect you, those who form the college that elect you.
I can't wait for Raymond to join us so that we can go through, we can pick some of these constituencies and do a comparative analysis and see how do things stand. In 2012, how did these parties perform in these constituencies, and how are they performing now? Are there any changes? Are there any gainers? Are there any losers? Who are the gainers? Who are the losers? Is there any trend? How sustainable is the trend? What does it show? What can we see? What can we project on the basis of these comparisons? The man is around, the man who does all the figures and all the things. And I always say his head is so large, so he can contain all the figures. He doesn't like me to say that.
He's gone to sleep and is back.
Yeah, I'm sure his head would have swollen in addition to how large it is already. So Raymond will join us. He will give us some comparative analysis. We have some certified results from Bantama. Raymond, if you are set, if you are not, I can engage Roland. Let's talk about. Okay, we know that Bantama is in, Bulsar North is not complete. You know, Bulsar North is interesting because it is the only seat that the PNC is holding. Clement Apak, a presidential staffer, is fighting Alassane Azong to take that seat. And if you see the performance so far, even though this is partial results, you will see the NDC's presidential candidate has already garnered 15,944. compared to the PNC's 103. The PNC, this is the only seat that the PNC holds in Parliament. Their presidential candidate in that constituency is doing 103, when the NDC's John Mahama is doing 15,944 so far. The MPP's Ekufado is doing 6,018. 6,018. So it will be interesting to see how this constituency pans out.
Yes, during the last election in 2012, you found a certain trend in the way the results were panning. Usually, if the presidential candidate had a certain trend of results, that also trickled down and reflected in the outcome of what the results were for the parliamentary candidate. And I don't think it's going to be different for the Bulsar North constituency. We shouldn't remember, we shouldn't forget that over the last 2 months or a month or so before the start of the election, there was an assault on notable areas in Ghana. We had the Central Region, Greater Accra. We had the northern parts of the country having an onslaught from
the candidates were crisscrossing all over the place.
The two top parties, the MPP and the NDC. Now, it's only a very difficult situation it will be for Honorable Azong, but of course he can take solace in the fact that he's been in Parliament before.
2008, 2012.
Yes. But Clement Park is somebody who has built his reputation in his own right. And even though the
result... He's a lecturer at the University of Ghana.
Yes, and he was a presidential staffer as well.
I think he still is.
Yes. So you could say that he will also be a formidable force and contribute to the NDC in Parliament if he gets to win the position as well.
But Roland, there's an observation I've made looking at the results. Consistently, both major presidential candidates, i.e. President John Mahama, Nana Akufo-Addo, are doing better than their parliamentary candidates. Why is that?
It's because of the trend of the parliamentary candidates not being in touch with their constituents.
Because this is not just incumbent MPs. These are also candidates who are not incumbents are actually now fighting to be MPs, and they live in the area with the people. Why should they don't
live in the area with the people? They went to contest on the ticket of the parties with the people.
For many of them, they live in the area where they are contesting.
Well, we have to be truthful too. We tend to think they live in the area with the people.
Yes, for many of them,
the reflection of the results also shows whether the individuals as candidates endeared themselves to the people of the constituency is critical. Now, the various attributes and characteristics or features, or perhaps the temperament or how they were perceived as individual candidates for the presidential elections are also different from the individuals who stood or stand as the parliamentary candidates. And we shouldn't forget that John Mahama necessarily may not be the same as his parliamentary candidate. So too Nana Addo Akufo-Addo will not be the same as his parliamentary
I guess what I'm curious about is why a presidential candidate who comes from an entirely different place, albeit he's the leader of the party, why he should be more popular than somebody who represents the people or supposed to represent the people, lives with them, sometimes actually shares their cultural values and norms and others, and their language and all of that, and yet the presidential candidates obtains more votes in their area than they do. And it's consistent.
The president, if he's the incumbent, is the head of the executives. Many of projects and activities that are undertaken, whether by the state structures or not, tend to be attributed to the president.
Akufo-Addo is no president,
yeah, sure.
But he's doing better than many of the MPP's parliamentary
and Nana
candidates.
Addo Akufo-Addo is not contesting for the first time. He's been contesting since 2008. So he may be on the ground or may be known a lot more to his people or to the people of the constituency than a certain parliamentary candidate or an incumbent, so to speak. So we also have to make sure that when we're positing our argument, we also have to put all those factors into perspective.
Okay, I have some results from Adaklu, but before I deal with that, we were talking about these press conferences and counter press conferences. How do they strike you when you find MPP hold a press conference and say, by their calculation, they think that the president should concede defeat? The Ofosu Ampofo, who is director of elections for the NDC, holds a counter press conference, and he says this is treasonable. It is a treasonous act for the MPP to purport to declare the results. And the EC comes out and says, look, we haven't received any collated results from even one constituency. Therefore, we cannot tell what the results are, and nobody should be declaring results. How do these strike you?
We have to put all these into three perspectives. We have an opposition that feels that for the collation of the provisional result it has, and i.e. we should know that the top parties, the MPP and NDC, all of them send their party agents to the various polling stations and then we had the unknown transition of those results to wherever they are collating their results, but also with the structures of the Electoral Commission, they go to the collation centers in the constituency. There's some level of collation that is undertaken, but of course that is not formal. So to the media also does some level of collation. Now, at the national level, when we're supposed to have a certain fabric or some seamless means of having some level of cohesion, the party that seems to think that it is leading would want, as we've seen what the trend has been since 2000, want to be seen to have had a certain foothold in the psyche of the ordinary voter and the general population. And I believe that that is the trend that...
But voting is ended.
Yes.
At this point,
but it's the trend...
There's no point trying to convince anyone that you have won.
But it is the trend that... It is the trend that the political parties have adopted, and we shouldn't forget that.
And I agree with you.
The argument whether that is a good thing or not is another thing altogether. I don't think that we need to have the parties come forward and say, look, we are preempting the Electoral Commission, you are not doing your work well enough, or perhaps you are not declaring the result fast enough, and so we think that we need to jump in and have a certain foothold.
They will tell you that they are not declaring. What they have done is just to inform their people that by the figures that they have, they are doing well. And you see, Roland, both political parties do this.
Yes, they do.
When their opponents do it, they complain.
That is if you're in power.
When it suits them, they do same.
When you're in power.
Because in 2004, we remember the famous so-called declaration by the late Jacob Echebe Lamte, when he called a press conference and said, by their calculation, precisely what McMahon has done. But their calculation, the MPP...
But at the time they were in power.
Right.
So the forces that would have perhaps descended on him were not as big as
he was vilified for it.
Yes, he was.
And then in 2008, even before the runoff, Koko Anyudoho, who was NDC's communications director and later became communications director at the presidency, actually said that what people thought Mills couldn't do, he had done. People should go out and celebrate. Even before the runoff, even before time. Today, I heard him saying that the NPP wants to bring chaos into this country. So when it suits them, they do it.
Yes, when it suits them, they do it. But that is why, for many of the times when the results are trickling in, we need the Electoral Commission with its management body, as well as the structures and the machinery that it's put in place to quickly come out, receive the results, try to quickly also transmit those results to the center, so that we can have those announced and then we'll have the necessary calm.
Talking about transmitting results to the center, let's go to Cape Coast North. Richard Kodanyako, we are back. Yeah. What do we have? Richard, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes, so what are the results for Cape Coast North? Are these certified results?
Well, the Cape Coast, they are left with just one polling station for the parliamentary, but for the presidential, it is intact, and they have a certified result from the Electoral Commission. Okay,
so what are the results?
Okay, let's have the results for the presidential election, and candidate Ivor Kobna Green Street polled 57 votes. The NDP candidate Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings had 61. John Dramani Mahama of the NDC had 16,589. 16,589. PPP's Dr. Papa Kisindom had 1,466. 1,466. Nana Adudankwa Akufo-Addo of the New Patriotic Party had 19,816. 19,816. Dr. Edward Mahama of the PNC had 19. Dr. Edward Mahama of the PNC had 19, and Jacob Osei-Yeboah, the independent candidate, had 8. But for the parliamentary, the NPP candidate, Barbara Ashei, is leading with more than 3,000 votes, and we are waiting for the result of one polling station to be added, and that polling station is not more than 1,000 votes. And so that is what we have from the Cape Coast North constituency. So apart from the Cape Coast North constituency, We also have the results for Himan Lower Dintra. Himan Lower Dintra, for instance, where the presidential MPP Nana Adanko Akufo-Addo polled 14,919. 14,919. NDC's John Dramani Mahama polled 10,185. 10,185. PPP's Dr. Papa Kwesindom polled 397. 397. PPP's Ivor Kobna Green Street polled 48. PNC's Dr. Edward Nasigri Mahama polled 24. The independent candidate NDP polled 15, and the independent candidate Jacob Osei-Yeboah polled 14. We had 422 rejected ballots, and valid votes amounted to 25,602, and the total vote cast represented 26,024.
Okay.
26,024. We go to the parliamentary, and the parliamentary result for Himan Lower Dintra constituency, MPP's Bright Rekugobe polled 15,043. 15,043. NDC's Foster Andor polled 10,338. 10,338. PPP, their candidate polled 257, and then CPP's candidate polled 119. So the MPP, Bright Rekugobe, has secured the seat for the MPP. Now the incumbent for Sajisif Andor has lost the seat. And so that is how it looks like. So if we get all the results, the certified results for the parliamentary in the Cape Coast North, and it's still what we are anticipating that if they add the other polling station results to what we have, if MPP's Barbara Sheyi goes ahead to win, then they would secure this seat from the NDC that is currently holding that.
Okay, so let me just go through the results once more so that we are clear what they are. CPP, for the Cape Coast North constituency, CPP had 57, NDP 61, 61, is that correct?
Yes.
NDC 16,589, that's presidential. PPP 1,456. MPP 19,816. PNC 19. And you said that the parliamentary results, there's one more polling station yet to come, but the MPP's parliamentary candidate is leading by about 3,000 votes. And the total vote for that one constituency, that one polling station which is yet to come, is about 1,000 votes. So even if we were to give all of those 1,000 votes to the other candidate, the NDC's candidate Kobia Champong, he will still not be able to cover the difference.
Exactly.
And therefore, we can safely say that MPP will win this seat as well for Cape Coast North.
For Cape Coast North.
Okay. Himan Lower Dintra, MPP 14,919. Presidential 14,919. NDC 10,185. PPP 397. CPP 48. PNC, I didn't quite get the PNC, is it 94? 24.
PNC 24.
PNC 24. Parliamentary for Himan Lower Dintra, MPP 15,043. NDC 10,338. PPP 257. CPP 119. The MPP has also won the Himan Lower Dintra constituency as well.
Yes, Malik.
Okay.
That is what it is.
Okay. Let's go to Ivy. Ivy Setoji is in the Volta region with results from Adaklu. Ivy, if you can hear me, let's deal with the Adaklu results. Are these certified results?
Yes, please.
Adaklu. These are
Adaklu.
certified. Okay. Let me add Adaklu. Okay. So what are the results?
Okay, so CPP is 34.
Okay.
NDP is 39.
Yeah.
NDC is 10,465.
Okay.
PPP 63, NPP 972, PNC 8, Independent 4, rejected is 132. The valid vote 11,717.
So that's for Adaklu, certified
Adaklu.
result, complete result.
Yes, please.
Okay. Do we have any more, or you are now going to go and look for more?
Well, we'll get more and then get back.
Ivy, thank you.